Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 7th September 2021. Okay, let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Simultaneously, you have look at your own newspapers. First of all, we will take overview of all these articles, in which I will explain the context of these articles and brief understanding about these articles. So, mains related articles, analysis of National Monetization Pipeline project. This was recently unveiled by Finance Ministry. Right. So, we have been discussing this particular issue from the economy GS3 paper aspect. Some new points are discussed in the article. So, you need to have follow up on all the analysis that is going on related to this NMP. Okay. So, in this article we will also look into these new aspects here. Right. Next, on page number 7, op-ed page, the new issue is discussed here. So, spirit of federalism lies in consultation, the name of the article, and it is talking about how central government in recent times unilaterally enacting laws on those subjects mentioned in the concurrent list of 7th schedule of Indian Constitution. Okay, so the article in initial part is providing some examples. At the same time, it is analyzing how it impacts on the powers of state legislature to legislate on these subject. Okay, so this is very important aspects related to GS2 paper polity part, federalism. So, in the name of cooperative federalism, the central government is actually enacting these laws without any consultation and dialogue with the state governments. Okay, so this is how we have to understand from GS2 paper polity part. We will look into all these examples, which are these laws, bills that are being enacted. Then prelims related developments in during the September month, which are the international and regional, we can say, organizations annual meetings or summits that are going to happen, and our Prime Minister is going to participate. Our Prime Minister to attend BRICS summit, SCO summit online, and Quad meeting in US. He is supposed to visit US, meet the US President, at the same time participate in Quad summit also, and he is going to address the United Nations General Assembly also. In this manner, you should be having follow up in during the complete September month in these international relations events. Okay, so we will also have follow up whenever the articles, these summits will happen, and the analytical articles will also appear regarding significance of these summits, outcome and significance of some. Then Sukhet model for free LPG refill, on page number 10, a very good case study related to environment section, as well as we can say that we can mention this in essay paper whenever we talk about sustainable development. Okay, so this case study in Bihar, Sukhet village in Bihar, it is talking about how a sustainable model can be developed, wherein it can target not only environment protection but also the health of women by ensuring there is no indoor pollution in the villages by the use of, we can say, firewood, and being replaced by the LPG as a cleaner fuel. Okay. At the same time, it is also resulting into organic, we can say, manure through vermicomposting also. So, we will understand what is this model here. Okay. You can directly mention this as a case study for sustainable development. Yes. And finally, Manda buffalo gets unique breed tag. So, this is important from geography, agriculture perspective, in which areas this variety of buffalo is found and what is the unique characteristics of this buffalo, for the reason which it is getting the unique breed tag. Okay. And finally, practice prelims MCQs on today's current affairs. There is one editorial talking about again Afghanistan process or the government formation process that is going on and why it is being delayed, and the same time how India can play important role at United Nations in peace process and ensuring that Taliban led Afghanistan government will have some kind of let's say international standards in conduct. Okay, so we have already discussed that particular topic in the previous lectures. The same thing is repeated there. Now, the first article we will discuss in detail the long and the short of NMP. The words long and short here basically relates to benefits and limitations. The long and short, that is benefits and limitations of this NMP, National Monetization Pipeline Project. This is the context. We have already discussed, this will be revision for you. What is NMP? This NMP is basically the public assets are being monetized by the government so as to free up the capital for further investment in new infrastructure development or greenfield projects, we can say that, right. So, for raising the finance for infrastructure development, new infrastructure development, the government is trying to monetize these assets. Now, there has been some kind of difference from the earlier attempts to the current attempt here, and the wording is used a different manner. Earlier, there was the wording that was called privatization, and to some extent it is politically sensitive topic and looked at in a negative perspective, privatization, and that's why the word used here that asset monetization. But there is fine difference between this. Privatization earlier involved, we can say, selling of the assets also, okay, and not only the management but the selling of the assets also. But here the monetization of the assets involves only giving assets on lease for a particular time period. That means ownership, the final ownership of these assets remains with the government. Okay, so this is the basic difference, we can say that, about privatization and monetization. Then what are the concerns or issues involved here? The two important issues we can discuss here is that the motive of private sector. The motive of the private sector is always profit making or profit generation, as against to public sector motive, which is to some extent we can say that serving the people is the primary motive rather than the profit making. The diverging interest here involved, and therefore when the private sector will gain the ownership, or we can say that for the momentary period on those assets, it will try to pass on or it will try to generate the profits by increasing the cost of goods and services. Okay, so in this manner ultimately the consumer, that is the common people, are going to suffer to some extent. The second aspect is that why should consumer or the people should suffer when the people have paid for already creation of that infrastructure. Whatever the infrastructure that is built, that is through taxpayers' money. That is built through the taxpayers' money. And again, for using those resources in future or those services, basically the people are again paying for that. So first they paid for building that infrastructure, and again they are paying more for access to that infrastructure or services from that infrastructure. For example, railways or railway stations or roadways, ports, all these which are built through the taxpayers' money. So basically here the taxpayers, or we can say people, will ultimately suffer. Though we can understand that no specific group of people are suffering here, but ultimately the cost of all these projects is passed on to the people here through we can say asset monetization also. But the need of the asset monetization can be understood here, that the government is not having enough sufficient resources at present to fund these infrastructure projects. Some facts are mentioned that at present we can say debt to GDP ratio. Debt to GDP ratio by the end of 2020-21 is around 60%. So this is huge. Okay, and therefore the government is not having enough fiscal space to further fund these infrastructure projects by borrowing from the market. Otherwise it will increase its debt, and already the GDP is less, so denominator is less and numerator is going to increase because of borrowings. So government needs to generate some revenue through such kind of already existing assets. Okay, so this is, we can say that as the important need of having such asset monetization program. Now the way forward, the uniqueness or the up till now whatever we discussed, the writer is providing innovative aspect. It is saying that there is need to explore simultaneously the alternatives to increase the government revenues. For example, it is saying that at present the tax revenue is very less, at present 17.4% of GDP tax revenue, which is considerably less as compared to some of the advanced nations or western countries. Okay, so we need to increase this. At present there are many loopholes which are being exploited by the large companies for tax avoidance, and many times tax evasion also. Okay, so for that purpose we need to increase the tax compliance. We need to broaden the tax base, and we need to plug loopholes in the administrative and legal system, taxation rules and administrative aspects. So all these are very important to increase the tax revenue, we can say. We know that at present the income tax especially, as well as the indirect taxes, GST, we can say there has been tax avoidance on large scale, especially by the large company. Okay, so ensuring tax compliance by these companies will generate the appropriate revenue resources. Okay, so in this manner we should talk about the way forward alternative also to fund these infrastructure projects. Okay, yes, any question?
So based on this manner, is the same process of highway contract only?
Which one?
Highways contract.
Yes. So those highway contracts, they are to some extent PPP models, right? They are PPP models wherein the land acquisition is done by the largely government, and then the private sector comes in, pulls in resources, invests their resources, and for some period of time, 20 years, 30 years, 15 years, run that particular, collect the tolls and earns the profit. Right?
Here asset also going to be having some duration of agreement, sir. Up to that they will collect the money from the facilities what they provide the private sector.
Yes.
So as per the basic concept, this is the double time recovery of money from the people now.
Yes, this is the important point here is the writer is saying that the impact of this NMP is not conveyed to common people in this manner. Okay, so the taxpayers' money is used to build these resources, and basically these resources, the services from these infrastructure that is built, it should be provided to the common people at the subsidized rate by the government itself, but now ultimately the taxpayers are going to pay more money for receiving those services. Right, so it is some kind of double taxation. Okay, so this message is not actually conveyed by the government to common people. So that's why we have analyzed this article. This unique point is mentioned in this article. You should be aware about the negatives also, the impact on the common people also. Okay, so the government is at present, we can say that short-sighted. for raising the revenue, it is only thinking about that. Okay. So the long term impact is not being discussed or analyzed here.
Sir, based on this article, only the target is only to get the revenue in an alternative way. That is the main motive of this project.
Yes.
Remaining will not able to,
Yes.
not able to cover the remaining.
Yes, other ways are, we can say, a little bit difficult, and substantial amount of revenue at one go is not, let's say, such alternatives are not available with the government. Okay, long term available, okay, long term reforms will be there, tax reforms, but it will take 1 year, 2 years for tax compliance, and that too depends on the tax administration and its efficiency in implementing those changes. Right. So that's why the government is resorting to, and we can understand present government largely focuses on selling on the assets. Since 2014, the privatization and all these things that are going on. So to some extent, the focus is on disinvestment, privatization, and raising resources through such things. Yes. Okay, now next article, it talks about spirit of federalism lies in consultation. Very good article. It talks about how central government is unilaterally enacting certain laws on the subjects which are mentioned in the concurrent list, and in some events even mentioned in the state list. Let us understand this particular issue. We are expecting such question in mains examination GS2 paper, polity part. Yes. So first example, the article discusses about farm laws that were passed, 3 farm laws that were passed in September 2020, last year. Okay, so basically we know that the agriculture is the state entry or entry in the state list, entry number 14. Okay, but the central government has cited the entry, that is commerce and trade, in concurrent list. In concurrent list entry number 33. Okay, so on the basis of entry number 33, such marketing reforms, food grain marketing reforms, agricultural marketing reforms were undertaken through these 3 laws. Okay, but to some extent it affects state legislature powers to enact laws on the agriculture subject. Okay, and there is some doctrine, the name of the doctrine you should remember, doctrine of pith and substance. Doctrine of pith and substance. What is the meaning of doctrine of pith and substance? The meaning suggests that the respective heads or respective governments, or we can say levels of the government in any country, they are having their own domain of power. Okay, let us continue. Yes, doctrine of pith and substance says that the respective governments should exercise their power in their own domain, and it should not encroach upon the domain of other levels of the government. Especially this is derived from the Canadian constitution or that government, where this doctrine of pith and substance is specifically mentioned. So levels of government, we are talking about central government, state government, and we can say local governments also. Okay, in this respect, basically the central government is encroaching upon the powers of state legislatures in legislating different laws on these subjects. Okay, so that's why doctrine of pith and substance you can mention here while analyzing this. Now, second example is Major Ports Authorities Act. Now, this Major Ports, through that Major Ports Authorities Act, basically some of the states are resisting to this bill because the central government is assuming more powers. Okay, so we know that the major ports are actually regulated by the central government. However, the changes that are brought by this particular Act 2021, Major Ports Authorities Act 2021, it is actually eliminating the complete role of state governments in, we can say, regulation of major ports here. That's why some of the southern states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, they are resisting to these bills. Okay, Major Ports Authorities Act. At the same time, new drafts Indian Ports Bill, it talks about non-major, or we can say minor ports. Now we know that minor ports are regulated and governed by the state governments. However, this particular bill, through Maritime State Development Councils, basically it is trying to change the power structure here, as it is largely controlled by the central government. In this manner, basically the changes are being brought by the central government here. At the same time, Electricity Amendment Bill 2020, this is also opposed by some of the southern states. It is talking about state electricity regulatory commissions. Okay, so this state electricity regulatory commissions, there is under this particular bill, there will be some national level selection committee to appoint the members of state electricity regulatory commissions. Okay, and therefore the regulatory aspect is now, or the control over these bodies is moving towards central government. Okay, so autonomy of state government, basically electricity is entry into the concurrent list. And now the central government is assuming more powers on that regulation aspect. Okay, so these examples can be mentioned. In terms of analysis, what we can mention here is why concurrent list was added by the constitution makers. The concurrent list was added in our constitution basically to bring the uniformities in the laws that are implemented in India. Uniformities of laws between the central government and state government. Okay, so to bring that uniformity, such concurrent list was mentioned. But here, instead of bringing uniformity, there is conflict that is going on. Between central and state governments here. Second aspect we should understand is that two important reports, Sarkaria Commission report and Venkatachalaiah Commission, the National Commission on Review of Indian Constitution. These two reports actually, first of all, Sarkaria Commission talks about there should be cooperation and consultation with the state governments whenever they are legislating on any subject mentioned or entry into the state list or concurrent list. Okay, so such kind of cooperation should be there, and the central government should limit its powers while legislating on the concurrent list subjects only to the nationally important subjects, or if it is having some kind of impact on the national policy. Otherwise, they should not legislate more on concurrent list. However, the trend is completely opposite. Second aspect you should understand, Venkatachalaiah Commission has given, let's say, recommendation where it talks about the provision under Article 263, that is interstate council. So whenever there is divergence of views between center and state, or one state or more than one state, so the interstate council should be the appropriate platform that should be used to have an appropriate dialogue between all these stakeholders and reach at a common point. Okay, so you can mention that recommendations here of these commissions. At the same time, Supreme Court in SR Bommai versus Union of India case has specifically said that the states are not appendages to the central government. Rather they are also the simultaneous important wheel to the cart, right? So it is talking about that states should be given appropriate autonomy, and central government should not indulge into the expansion of its legislative powers into the domain of state legislatures. in this manner we should analyze these particular cases. Okay, so what you can do, suppose the question is asked like the essence of cooperative federalism lies in consultation and dialogue. Analyze the statement with reference to central government's unilateral enactment of critical laws on the subjects in the concurrent list. So, while analyzing this, you can give these arguments and simultaneously mention these examples. So, the analysis supported by the examples. In this manner, you can attempt this question. Okay? Any question?
Sir, the electricity amendment bill is there now, sir, 2020. Last year, the government has been directly given the central finance department minister has been said now, sir. Those are having the lag of amount of expenditures, they need to pay amount themselves only.
Land?
Some of the debts is there, sir, from the banks, especially Southern Power Distribution Limited, Discom Limited. Those are suppliers of electricity.
So, you are saying that the subsidies will not be provided to farmers?
No, sir. Electricity boards are going to be present loss, they are running in loss mode, sir.
Yes.
After finance department has given the strictly order now, sir, to whatever you have the loss, you need to pay to directly from your side only. The central government is not responsible.
Yes.
Based on that one, it is the major exploitation, sir. From the people only they are collecting from. This month onwards, we got more than 150 rupees. Actually, the bill has been 300 rupees. Now it is then 500 rupees. Then AP is going to be applied, sir, in August month onwards.
Of course, whatever the losses that are there, these discoms will raise their try to eliminate the losses by increasing the fare or tariffs. Okay, they do not have other resources. Basically, there was one scheme by the central government to support these discoms earlier. This was called Uday scheme. Basically, central government was trying to support these discoms, but largely the discoms are actually facing the management inefficiency also. There are many AT&C losses, or we can say that the wastage of electricity is high, and therefore the management inefficiency among these discoms is very high. So, we need to overcome that aspect also.
So, what I observed, sir, that especially management side is not a problem, sir, but mainly finance department, they have rapidly increasing their salaries, sir, employee salaries. Even the district collector is getting the 60,000 or 70,000 starting onwards, but the attendant is going to be getting, lineman is getting more than 1 lakh rupees. And especially SPDCM department. I know that electricity department, sir.
Okay.
That's why I am getting. Only attendant or lineman is going to be getting more than 1 lakh rupees. Then how we can able to achieve this one, sir?
Okay, I am not aware about their salaries and allowances, but yes.
I completed electricity graduation, sir.
Okay.
Regarding I know that salaries.
Okay.
Drawback is going to be every 5 years they are putting the increments, and that is a major drawback.
Okay, sir. So revenue expenditure is more. Rather than capital expenditure. Okay. Yes. Surely that particular issue you can mention there. Right. So that aspect is also important. Basically, at present, the government is trying to privatize discoms also. In Delhi, this has been done already. Okay, so discoms under the previous government's Congress ruled government, at that time they were we can say privatized, and automatically the tariff increased because of that. Okay, so presently the AAP government that is there, it is providing subsidies. Ultimately the private sector is going to increase its profits. This is mentioned in this article. Okay.
But central government is getting 50,000, sir, but the state government assistant is getting more than 1 lakh. That is a major drawback, I think.
Yes, we can understand that aspect, we can mention that, but at the same time, if they are getting such high salary, they should be efficient enough, right? So that management inefficiency should be eliminated if you are getting that much amount of salary. Okay, but simultaneously that is also problem, right? So yes, we can mention that issue also, right? So these issues we are expecting the question on this particular topic. Okay, remember this issue. Now, specifically as a follow up to IR section on different meetings that are going to happen, summits that are going to happen in September month. Yes, so first one is BRICS summit that is going to happen on 9th September. Okay, so after that there will be outcome. Basically India is going to preside over this summit this year, and our Prime Minister will chair the meeting, and it will be in virtual format. When the meeting will happen and the outcome will be there, it will be analyzed. We are going to discuss that aspect. Okay, then Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit will be also held this month. PM will attend this via video conference, and our External Affairs Minister will be physically present in Dushanbe, Tajikistan, where this meeting is happening. Again, we will discuss that the outcome, but the major area of focus or discussion will be Afghanistan and the Taliban-led Afghanistan government that is going to form. Okay, so this is going to be the major area of discussion, because we know that the SCO members are basically those members like Central Asian republics, China, we can say that Russia is there, Pakistan is there, India is there. All are important stakeholders in surrounding of Afghanistan region. So that is going to be the major area. Then Prime Minister visit to US. PM is expected to travel later this month to US. His visit will have three important, let's say, participations. First, meeting with Mr. Biden, the President of US. Then there will be Quad meeting also. We are expecting that. At the same time, our Prime Minister will address UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, on 25th September. Okay, so remember all these IR related developments that are going to happen in this month, outcome of these meetings, that is important for mains examination. Okay, we will discuss that simultaneously later on. Sukhet's villagers trade west for wellness, get free LPG refills. Now, what is this case study of called as Sukhet model of Jhanjarpur block of Madhumani district in Bihar? Okay, so this Sukhet model is designed by one of the official of PUSA, okay, agricultural we can say university. Now, this is very unique, innovative model on the basis of we can say sustainable development. In this model, what they are doing is the LPG cylinders are refilled every 2 months in exchange of cow dung and farmyard waste. In exchange of cow dung and farmyard waste. So basically, there is exchange of two entities. One is benefiting from the other. How? Let us understand that. What is happening in this model is that the villagers have been using firewood for cooking purpose, and that was resulting into indoor pollution, impacting on health of female and children. Okay, so now because of let's say these households receiving free cylinder refills, LPG refills, which are very costly in the market actually to get such refills. So there will be reduction in indoor pollution, so that means it ensures pollution free environment at home. So health of women and children is improved here. Second aspect is that the waste disposal. So cow dung and farmyard waste is being disposed in a very effective and environment friendly manner. How? This cow dung and farmyard waste is used in the vermicomposting plants which are located in villages. So it is resulting into availability of organic fertilizers to the local farmers at low prices as compared to market. At low prices as compared to market. So farm inputs, instead of costly chemical fertilizers, organic fertilizers through vermicomposting is being provided. So the cow dung and farmyard waste is used for that purpose. At the same time, it is providing monetary assistance to LPG cylinders. So free LPG refills are being used. Basically, it is a kind of economic cycle at the village level, and it is environment friendly and sustainable also. It is environment friendly and sustainable also. So use this, because already our Prime Minister has used this in Man Ki Baat speech, this particular model, and that's why it is in use. So use this in your essay paper, environment section, geography part, whenever the sustainable development or the environment section, environment protection aspects are there, or indoor pollution related, suppose the case study is asked in the ethics paper. So you can use these innovative models in your answer. So Sukhet model from Bihar, fine. Those who are having geography optional, you can use that also in GS2 paper. Paper 2 of geography optional, fine. Okay. Then Manda buffalo gets unique breed tag. So this Manda buffalo is given the 19th such, let's say, unique breed of buffaloes found in India. This tag is given by National Bureau of Animal Genetic Resources. This is one of the institute affiliated to ICAR. Okay. This buffalo is found in Eastern Ghats and the plateau of Koraput region of Odisha. Okay, so it is specific to Eastern Ghats and a plateau of Koraput district in Odisha. What is the uniqueness of this breed? Uniqueness of breed is that it is resistant to parasitic infections, less prone to diseases, and can thrive in modest resources. So less amount of resources are required, so food resources we can say. At the same time, it is disease resistant variety, right? So this is good thing. The genetic resources of this variety can be used further in future for, we can say, genetically modified varieties, disease resistant, drought prone varieties of these cattle, fine. So this can be asked in prelims examination, Manda variety. So yes, on the basis of this information, what can be answer to this question?
Sir, answer yes, sir. Only answer means sir, 2 only.
Yes, yes. So about this Manda buffalo, the statements we have to find the correct statements. It is unique breed of buffalo found in Nilgiri hills of Western Ghats. If you are not aware of exact information, you may think that, oh, in Nilgiri there is biodiversity, unique variety may be found, right? So basically it is found in Eastern Ghats and that too Koraput plateau in Odisha. Then it is resistant to parasitic infections and requires less resources. One can logic that this statement might be correct. So yes, the only 2 is correct statement, first is incorrect one, fine. So B is the correct answer. Okay, so these were important articles. Any question? There is one comment in the yesterday's video regarding that particular topic we discussed about geopolitics and morality. First thing that I did not understand what you wanted to convey there, because the topic that we discussed there is related to positive aspects, that is morality. Morality is having positive connotation. Okay, and whatever the discussion we had in that article, it was talking about how some of the Western countries which are military and economy wise strong, they have dictated some terms on the other countries. That became universal standard. Universal standards will be positive aspects, right? So we gave the example of US as a promoting democracy, but it had some positive connotation. We are not talking about, let's say, US having some vested interest of, let's say, debackling some kind of, let's say, dictatorship in other countries or something like that. right? So we are talking about universal moral standards in international relations, and that has positive connotation. Whatever the national interests that are there having some negative connotation, they will not become the universal standards. Try to understand this aspect, right? Okay then. So if you are not having any question, we will stop. We will meet tomorrow. Thank you.